Good morning. We're living today in a state of apparent powerlessness. We're all locked in our homes for the shutdown to keep social distancing. We have to wear masks. So there's a sense of frustration that is permeating the society these days. People are getting upset and angry over the slightest thing. But it's all because of the frustration and the feeling of that I'm powerless. There's nothing that can be done. Gotta do something. Gotta do something. But physical action is probably the least effective thing one can do in many situations. I know I grew up with the teaching that I had to do something to be a go-getter and get out there and make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. But the truth of the matter is, it's not up to us to make it happen, at least not physically. What we need to do is go to a higher level. If we're not happy with what's going on in our lives, if we're not happy with situations, if we are feeling locked into a situation that is not for us, then doing something may not work because we don't know what to do. We've got to go to a higher level. We've got to turn to infinite intelligence, also known as God. We've got to turn to a higher source. Going to God is like going to being in a retail store and not being satisfied with the service and saying, let me talk to your manager. Let me see your manager. Let me go to a higher source. Let me go to somebody who has some power to do something here. Well, that's what God is. God has the power to do something here. Do something that we cannot do. So we'll call on God. Call on God and then get out of the way and let God do its work. Please click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. I'd love to hear from you, so you can use the chat box on the right side of the screen or the comment section below this video. And you can continue to support this ministry if you would go to my website at bozemandevelopment.com and choose the Please Donate button or link. Or you can use my Cash App at $Andre Amron. I appreciate your support. I'm reminded of a book by Emmett Fox called The Golden Key. And in The Golden Key, Emmett Fox, it's a 5-page, actually it's a pamphlet. It's only 5 pages long. He said if he could have gotten it shorter, he would have. Basically, he advocates what is known as scientific prayer. Scientific because you know that if you do it correctly, it's going to work, and it's going to repeat and repeat and repeat in its work. Scientific prayer. Basically, what it is if you're in a situation where you are unhappy, in a situation where you're in trouble, a situation where your physical action is not apparent or even effective, then go to prayer. Go to prayer. Pray intensely. And then step back and turn it over to God. Pray intensely. Think about God. Don't think about the situation. Think about God. See, by thinking about the situation, by focusing on the situation, what you're doing is you are hypnotizing yourself and locking yourself into the situation because you are giving it power. You are giving it a reality that it does not deserve. So pray to God intensely and get your mind out of the situation, get your mind to a higher level, to rest in infinite intelligence, and step back out of the way and let infinite intelligence do its work. I'm reminded of I'm reminded of many things, but I'm reminded of a situation a long time ago where this was so apparent. I remember I was a pharmaceutical salesman, and just to let you know how long ago this was, I was a pharmaceutical salesman, and my job was to introduce the American Medical Society to this new wonder drug that was going to replace aspirin called Tylenol. At the time, it was only available through prescription. So I was going to doctors' offices and selling them on the value of using Tylenol and how Tylenol had no side effects, which we know is not true now. But I hated my job, even though I was getting great salary. I had a beautiful company car, brand new, um, expense account, all those things that people think would mark you as being successful. Was married, had 2 kids, lived in a nice townhouse. All the visible signs that I was doing okay were there, but the truth of the matter was I was not okay. I was not a happy man. I was frustrated. I was sad. I was depressed. I didn't like my job, but I had nowhere to go. And I remember sitting one day in my living room, depressed, wondering what to do. I had been praying, which I hadn't done a lot back then, but I had been praying to God to give me a sign, to show me the way, praying. I've got to get out of this. Please help me. And as I was sitting there, sort of just unfocused, on TV came a television commercial that changed my life. Let me play it for you.
These are cola nuts. They grow here. They're used to make cola-flavored soft drinks. These, on the other hand, are uncola nuts. They grow here too, but as you can see, they're a bit different from cola nuts. Rather larger for one thing. Rather juicier too, I'd say. Marvelous little things, uncola nuts. We use them, of course, to make the uncola 7-Up. It's the uncola nut that helps give the uncola its je ne sais quoi, fresh, clean taste, no aftertaste, wet, wild, all that. Marvelous, absolutely marvelous. Just try making something like that out of a cola nut. Why, it's even prettier than a cola. Nuttier than a cola, actually.
So as I said, that commercial changed my life. I remember when I was watching it, all of a sudden, I woke up. I focused. I was attentive. I was focused on the television. There was something going on. I didn't know what it was, but there was something going on as I was watching this commercial. And by the end of that commercial, I was standing on my feet. I had actually literally jumped up from my seat and I said, that is what I want to do. That is what I want to do. My heart was pounding. I was panting. My breathing was heavy. It was like I'd been running. That was what I wanted to do. And then a couple of weeks later, in the TV listings, there was featured on this local PBS station a panel discussion about why are there no blacks in the advertising agency business. Well, that's interesting. I didn't even know that there were advertising agencies. I thought advertising was done inside companies where they did it themselves. But here they're talking about an advertising agency. You see, when I got out of high school, I went directly into the service. So I never really had the chance to, no, I had the chance. I never really went to college at that time. So I watched the show. And on the show, it was a panel discussion, and the lead of the panel was a man named Bill Sharp, who was a black man in the advertising agency industry, and he was talking about the fact that the newly formed, well, Office of Economic Opportunity had been looking at the industries where black people had been excluded, and the advertising agency business was one of those. And in response, the American Association of Advertising Agencies, in conjunction with Northwestern University, had created a class to help black people get into advertising, because the agencies had said, "Well, we've been looking for black people, but we just can't find them. They're not around," which was an untruth, but we'll go into that later. So, of the 5,000 people who worked in the advertising agency business during that time in Chicago, only 5 of them were black. So, this course that they had developed, the basic ad course, was a 16-week course to train black people to become advertising professionals. They gave a phone number. I called the number. I got an appointment. I went down and for interviewing, and apparently 600 people had responded to this. So I went through a series of interviews, me and these 600 other people, and I was selected. There was room for 20 people in what was the media class, the media marketing class, and 20 people in the creative class. I was trying to get into the creative class. And then when they called me a couple of weeks later, they told me I had been accepted into the media and marketing class. I must admit I was a little disappointed. I wanted to be in the writing class. So I shared that with them, and they said, "Well, we know that you said you wanted to be a writer, but we are looking at your background. We're looking at your interviews, and you displayed a marvelous talent for business and math. And so we thought you'd fit perfectly into the media and marketing part of the business. Media is where the power is, because those are the people who spend the money to buy time on television. They're the people who actually, to a great extent, control programming on television. So that's where they wanted to put me, even though I wanted to be a writer. But I had to accept it in my mind, because this is the chance to get into this advertising agency business, and maybe once I'm in, I can do something about getting to where I want to be. So I accepted the job. I accepted the studentship. But while I was on the phone, a thought flashed in my mind, and I said, "Okay, I'm going to accept that. Thank you very much. But is it possible that I could sit in on the creative class, since they're on different days?" And they said, "Sit in on the creative class?" I said, "Yeah, just sit in, see what I could learn." I said, "Well, if you think you can handle the work, yes. We have no objection to you sitting in. You won't be a student, you'll be just an observer, but you can sit in." So there I had it. I could sit in on the creative class and work the media class. And that's how it went. And in the creative class, I worked right along with them and did the same work that they did. I didn't always get it presented to the group because I wasn't a student, but the instructors liked me, and so they would look at my work and give me critiques on what I needed to do to make it better. In the meantime, in the media class, things were rolling along, and about halfway through the 16-week course, I think about the 9th or 10th week, I got a call from J. Walter Thompson, which at the time was the largest advertising agency in the world, and they wanted to talk to me about coming into their media department and becoming one of their media analysts. So I went in and I interviewed, and lo and behold, they offered me a job. So here I am, a little scared now, because here I am, I've got a job offer in the media department, but I really want to go over there to the creative department. And so I had to figure out something to do. I was totally committed to getting into advertising. I'd even quit my job as a pharmaceutical salesman in order to give myself focus and time to do this correctly. And I got a job on the night shift in a factory just so I could focus on this class. So I asked them to give me a week to think about it, the media department, which they did. Because what was happening at that time was it was at that point that they were introducing in the creative class the first TV commercial. And I wanted to be there. So I worked hours creating a TV commercial and doing the artwork, because you had to present a storyboard, which is visual frames to show what's going on in the commercial as you go through it. And I think mine had about 6 or 8 frames. So I had to actually draw and color in these frames so that I could explain my commercial. So the day of arrival, the day of presentation comes, and during the class, there was always an executive from one of the advertising agencies who was a guest speaker, both in the media class and in the creative class. And in this case, for the first TV commercial, the guest speaker was a man named Bill Ross, who was the creative director of J. Walter Thompson, the man who was in charge of the Uncola account. So he did his speech, and then everybody presented their commercials, and he critiqued them. And then they said, you know, we got one more. This Andrew here has been working with us. He's really a media student, but he's been working with us, and he's been working along, and he has a commercial too. And do you think we could let him present it? And Bill said, sure, let him present it. So I did, and it was a hit. It was like, wow, everybody said, that was fantastic. That was really a great commercial, Andrew. I said, wow, okay, I did it. After the class was over, Bill Ross came over to me, and he handed me his business card, and he says, you know, I think you should be a writer. Call me. So I did. I called him. And he set up interviews at J. Walter Thompson. I talked to a lot of people, and I went through the creative test. The creative test is they give you this test where you have to create commercials for hypothetical products. And you actually have to create a couple of new products on your own, you know, and also discuss issues about how you would approach certain issues in the communication of the products that are to be marketed. So I passed the creative test, and I passed the interviews, and they offered me a job. And this time I accepted. And now I was a writer on the Uncola account. Pray to God. Get your mind off of what's wrong and get your mind up to where God is. Get your mind up into infinite intelligence. Get your mind to a higher level so that you're not locked in through hypnosis into that negativity, and get out of the way and let God do the work. And don't expect fiery chariots now. You know, there's a story of the minister who was caught in a flood, and he was on his roof, and a rowboat came by, and he said, oh no, thank you, God will provide. And then a motorboat came by to pick him up, and he says, oh no, thank you, God will provide. In the meantime, the water continues to rise. And finally, a helicopter came by to airlift him out, and he said, oh no, thank you, God will provide. So when he got to heaven, because he did not survive that, he says to God, what happened? I've been so faithful to you, and you left me out there. And God says, I sent you a boat, a rowboat. I sent you a power boat. I even sent you a helicopter. I'm not going to send you a chariot of fire. There is no chariot of fire, folks. When you pray and you ask for God's help, remember, there is nothing that is not God. And so little things will happen Just be alert. Little things will happen, and be prepared to react to those little things. Be prepared to move forward when that door opens. I mean, it started for me with a television commercial. Hey, not a chariot of fire, a TV commercial. The minister had a boat and a cruiser and a helicopter. There's no chariot of fire. God is going to work with what is there, just to show you the way. There's no need for miracles. Just your very presence is a miracle. Scientific prayer. Be there. Be committed. Remember, in the area of commitment, Johann Goethe says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative, creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. I hope what I've said today has been of value to you. Let's close with prayer. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence. Thank you for bringing all of us together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we're beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. We know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise, because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we're now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this, we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending some time with me. Please click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. You know, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions, your suggestions, your stories. So please use the comment section below the video. And remember, you can help support this ministry by going to my website at bozemandevelopment.com and choosing the Please Donate tab, or you can use the Cash App at $Andre Amron. I truly appreciate your support. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you again next week. In the meantime, remember, I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind.